Most people using NotebookLM are stuck at 15% of its power, feeding it a PDF, asking a question, done. You want to actually learn faster, whether that's mastering a lecture, a new framework, or prepping for an interview, not just collect notes. That's what this video is for. I'm walking you through the other 85%, Studio, sources, and 8 real use cases that turn NotebookLM into a full learning system. Let's get into it. This is Pervez Durrani, and you are watching Guru Tech Solutions. Now that we've gone through the interface, let's quickly understand the 3 main sections of NotebookLM, because everything we're about to do lives inside these 3 panels. On the left, the Sources panel, where you upload everything you want NotebookLM to learn from. PDFs, Word docs, text files, Google Docs, presentations, websites, YouTube videos, research papers, and more. You can even use the built-in web search to find and add sources without leaving NotebookLM. In the center, the Chat panel. This is where you talk to your own content, not a general AI, but a conversation with your uploaded documents. Summarize, explain, compare across sources, or get answers based strictly on what you've provided. On the right, the Studio panel. This is where NotebookLM transforms your content into something else entirely. Podcast-style audio overviews, mind maps, study guides, reports, quizzes, flashcards, slides, videos, and more. At first glance, NotebookLM looks simple. Upload, ask, generate. But here's the problem. That's exactly how most people use it. And because of that, they're using about 5 to 10% of what it's actually capable of. You already know where the buttons are, but that's not what makes you productive. What makes you productive is knowing what to ask, how to structure your prompts, and how to chain NotebookLM's features into complete workflows. Most people never get there. They ask simple questions, get simple answers, and assume that's all there is. In reality, NotebookLM can break down complex topics, analyze dense research papers, compare information across dozens of sources, generate full study systems, spot gaps in your understanding, and turn raw documents into publication-ready content, all from the same set of files. That's exactly what we're exploring in this video. Real use cases, real prompts. So by the end, you're using NotebookLM in ways most people never realize are possible. Let's start with the first one, content automation. Say you're a content creator building a consistent automation workflow. Once your sources are added, head to the Studio panel and open the video option. Inside, you'll see a format choice, cinematic, general, or short. If you're after short-form content, shorts, TikToks, pick short. NotebookLM will suggest focus areas, or you can enter your own topic. Hit Start, and it generates the video automatically.
Fueled by massive infrastructure projects like the interstate system and incredibly cheap oil, America captured a staggering 31% of global wealth by 1970.
Built entirely from your own uploaded sources. That's the shift. You're not starting from scratch anymore. Your research becomes content automatically. Second use case, building a complete study system from any lecture. Say you're watching a lecture and it's not clicking. Instead of replaying it 5 times, copy the video link, let's say a Stanford lecture on leadership or communication, and paste it into NotebookLM as a source. Now go to Chat settings and set a custom instruction. Explain only the content from this lecture as if you are teaching a complete beginner. Break down every concept into simple, easy-to-understand language without assuming prior knowledge. Use only the information from the lecture and explain it step by step. Save that as your base learning mode. Then push further with a second instruction. Explain the same lecture at an exam level. Include formal definitions, key concepts, common mistakes, exam notes, and practice questions, all strictly based on the lecture. Watch the transformation. NotebookLM turns one lecture into a full exam prep system. Definitions, key ideas, common mistakes, practice questions and answers. Go deeper still. List the 12 most important terms from this lecture and define each one clearly in simple language for revision. Instant revision-ready glossary. And from the studio panel, layer on quizzes with adjustable difficulty, topic-specific assessments, flashcards, even audio overviews to listen instead of
Welcome to the
read.
deep dive.
One lecture.
Usually
Now
when
a
we talk
complete
about
learning
being a
system.
highly effective
Notes,
communicator,
exams,
the image that comes to
flashcards,
mind is,
audio.
I don't know,
You're
someone
not
standing on
consuming
this massive
information
stage.
anymore.
Right,
You're
perfectly
building a
rehearsed.
structured learning
Exactly,
system
perfectly
out of it.
rehearsed.
Next, technical documentation assistant. Say you've added a couple of sources on neural networks, one explaining the basics, another going deeper. Start simple. Teach me how neural networks work as if I'm a beginner learning it for the first time. Explain the core idea in simple language and include one practical example to demonstrate how it works. You'll get layers, weights, biases, activation functions, plus a real example like an email spam detector. Now push deeper. Explain neural networks from the perspective of an AI student in depth. Highlight common misconceptions, key concepts, and mistakes that students often misunderstand. Suddenly, you're seeing where students actually trip up on backpropagation, how the training math really works, and what confuses people in practice. You're not just learning what neural networks are, you're learning how they fail and how to think about them correctly. One more layer. Create a practical revision checklist for neural networks, including all key concepts, important points, and common areas where students usually get confused. Clean checklist, exam ready. And if you're a visual learner, generate a mind map. Watch the layers connect, the data flow, the whole system laid out at a glance. Now, combining research papers with explainer articles to simplify AI concepts. Research papers are dense on their own, so pair one with a simpler explainer or blog post as a second source. Start with, summarize this paper in 10 to 15 sentences, focusing on the core architecture, how the system works, methodology, benchmark results, and performance comparisons. That's your high-level map. Then, go deeper. Explain the complete workflow step by step, like teaching someone at a whiteboard. Show how each component connects and how information flows through the system. Now the whole system unfolds as a logical flow you can actually visualize. Push once more into researcher territory. Identify the engineering constraints of this approach. Discuss similar methods and explain how this affects performance, stability, and possible failure scenarios based on the paper. Now you're not reading the paper, you're analyzing it. Limitations, trade-offs, real-world failure points. Basic understanding to deep learning to structured revision to research-level analysis, all from the same sources. Next, using NotebookLM as an interview preparation assistant. Say you're applying for a job as a content creator or video editor. Upload your resume, the job description, and anything you can find on the company's studio culture or content style. That's your prep workspace. Now ask, based on my resume and this job description, which 3 projects should I highlight to prove I have the exact storytelling and editing skills they are looking for? NotebookLM cross-references your experience against the job requirements and tells you exactly what to lead with. No more guessing. Push further. Give me 5 highly technical interview questions about my workflow, color grading, pacing, and editing style that this specific studio is likely to ask. Now it's thinking like the interviewer, generating role-specific questions based on your actual skills and their actual expectations. You can rehearse the entire interview before it happens. Next, Research Assistant for content creators. If you're in the AI education space like I am, this one's huge. Upload your research materials and notes on a new topic, then start with, Create an easy-to-understand explanation of this topic for an audience interested in AI tools. Keep the language simple, engaging, and beginner-friendly without losing the key ideas. That gives you an audience-ready explanation instantly. Then push it into finished content. Turn this into an engaging 8-minute YouTube video script. Then also create a professional LinkedIn post summarizing the key insights in a concise and compelling way. Now you've got a full content package, a structured script with narration flow and visual cues, plus a polished LinkedIn post ready to publish. One set of sources, a script, and a social post, both done. Next, deep legal and contract analysis. This one's for anyone who's ever stared at a contract and felt completely lost. Contracts are full of technical language, hidden clauses, details that are easy to miss, the kind of thing that costs you money later if you skim past it. Instead of reading line by line, upload the document and ask. Act as a senior attorney and analyze this document. Summarize the key clauses, liability terms, termination conditions, and indemnification details. Flag any contradictions, ambiguous language, or potential legal risks across the document. Also list all critical deadlines and milestones. You get a structured breakdown: clauses, liability, termination terms, indemnification, risks, deadlines, all laid out clearly. What used to be hours of careful reading becomes a simplified, actionable summary. Last use case: converting complex content into visual learning. Save this one for when you're completely overwhelmed with material. Say you've got a pile of mixed sources, videos, blog posts, articles, notes, all tangled together. Reading through it one by one would eat your entire afternoon. Instead, use the studio's visual tools. Generate an infographic, and NotebookLM condenses every source into one clean visual overview. Generate a slide deck, and it turns the same material into a structured professional presentation, each slide breaking down a key idea. No need to dig through every source yourself. Hours of reading replaced by one infographic and one deck. That's the real power of NotebookLM. It's not a note-taking tool. It's a complete system for learning faster, creating content faster, prepping for interviews, analyzing documents, and turning complex information into something simple and usable. Use it this way, and you're not just saving time, you're upgrading the way you think and work. If this helped, hit subscribe. I'm breaking down tools like this every week, so you're not the one falling behind while everyone else figures it out first. I'll see you in the next one.